Hey everybody, HeadspaceConnections back with another video. For those of you that can probably tell in the voice and sinuses sound a little nasally, kind of a little under the weather. We ended up catching the whatever bug that's going around. It's not the flu, but it's been wiping us out a little bit. But anyway, with the video that we're going to be doing today, I haven't really seen anybody do anything related to this just yet and how it can affect systems. We're also going to be talking about how it affects non-DID systems, I guess, singlets. I don't know what term you would use anymore for it. People with DID or OSDD and not. It's a little long, so I guess we'll just go with singlets. Now, BDD, body dysmorphia disorder, and GD, or gender dysphoria, they are commonly confused with each other, or for one or the other. They can be conjoined, like comorbid. You can have both at the same time, but basically this is going to be a video about how there are differences between the two, and just because you have one does not necessarily mean you have the other, and how it can affect systems, and like I said, systems and singlets alike. Now, in general terms, body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, is a mental health disorder where you can't stop thinking about one or more what you see as perceived defects or flaws in your appearance. Now, these flaws or defects can be something like so minor to the point where nobody else will even notice it. But the problem is that you do. I mean, you could feel so embarrassed, anxious, ashamed, that may even lead you to start avoiding like social situations because it is that troubling to the person that has it. It's almost like a severe form of OCD because it's also kind of bordering on obsessive compulsive. People with BDD can sometimes, you'll see about a lot of stars and stuff that have constant plastic surgeries. Sometimes cosmetic procedures will be sought out after to try to fix these perceived flaws and imperfections. But the problem with it is like it may help bring some temporary satisfaction and or reduce the distress, but over time that anxiety is usually going to come back, and most commonly you're going to start looking for other things that need to be fixed, so to speak. So it is not a easy thing to have to deal with, but of course there are also levels of severity in it. But here, we're going to read them because we're not going to memorize them all, are some symptoms that are associated with BDD. And one is being extremely preoccupied with perceived flaws in appearance that to others appear unnoticeable or minor. Strong belief that you have a defect in your appearance that makes you ugly or deformed. Belief that others take special notice of your appearance in a negative way. Engaging in behaviors aimed at fixing or hiding perceived flaws that are difficult to resist or control, such as frequently checking the mirror, grooming, or skin picking. That's a bad one for us. Attempting to hide perceived flaws with styling and makeup or clothes. Constantly comparing your appearance to others. Frequently seeking reassurance about your appearance from others. Having perfectionistic tendencies, seeking cosmetic procedures with little satisfaction, avoiding social situations. And I mean, this is where it can kind of start bordering on GD or gender dysphoria, is when you start putting excessive focus on certain body parts, and the features or whatever that you focus on, or somebody with BDD focuses on, will change over time. But most commonly the ones that you will see with it are like face, features like nose, complexion, wrinkles, acne, and other issues like that. Hair, like appearance, how's it look, thinning, baldness, skin and vein appearances, breast size can even be an issue with it. People think they're too small or too big or not, muscle size and tone. That can be an issue sometimes, especially for like bodybuilders or people that don't feel like they're big enough. And also genitalia. Now, the difference in this is like you can have all or none. I know for us, with our experience with it, it kind of varies between alter to alter, personality to personality, person to person, however you want to phrase it. And as with any disorder, it's going to vary from person to person in general. So, I mean, all the symptoms are not going to be the same, but it usually does not get better on its own. If it's left untreated, it will eventually get worse over time, which can lead to massive issues with anxiety, extensive medical bills if it's procedure inclined, severe depression, even suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Now, complications that can be caused or associated with BDD, as said, can be like comorbid disorders, I guess, like major depressive or other mood disorders, like I mentioned earlier, suicidal thoughts and behaviors, anxiety disorders, including like social anxiety disorder, and obsessive compulsive disorder, which, like, kind of mentioned a little bit how BDD is kind of more along the obsessive compulsive side. But eating disorders and substance misuse, health problems, like we mentioned earlier, like skin picking and stuff like that, physical pain, and, the risk of disfigurement when you do like one too many surgeries. I'm sure most everybody knows who Michael Jackson is. After a while, you can only do so many surgeries before things start getting a little overboard. And now, obviously, like going over BDD and the symptoms associated with that sounds a lot kind of similar to gender dysphoria. However, we're going to start getting into that, and this is where you're going to find some of those differences. Gender dysphoria, or GD, is a condition where there's conflict between someone's sex or gender identity. And that can be, distressing, uncomfortable feelings, which is what they call that dysphoria. And when a child, adolescent, starts experiencing that dysphoria, for most of you who are trans, and I mean, even like systems alike, you get these feelings every now and then where it's like you feel uncomfortable in your body, and that can cause like anxiety and essentially having the feeling of being stuck in the wrong body. But what I thought was interesting when reading over gender dysphoria is that not everybody that has gender dysphoria, what is known as GD or gender dysphoria, doesn't necessarily suffer from dysphoria. Some people identify themselves as what they call gender nonconforming. I guess it would kind of be similar to androgynous. Sorry, I don't know if I said that right. Nasal issues. And with that, it's like these individuals don't necessarily wish to be the opposite gender. They believe and insist that they actually are that gender. So there can be differences in that as well. Now, those with GD have that feeling of the dysphoria with whatever features that are causing those issues. But like mentioned, some don't necessarily have issues with the way they feel about their own body image. Like, I feel like for us, that has kind of been that same experience. Like, over the years, I admit that as we were growing up during adolescent stage, when we were supposed to have, that hormonal teenage phase, never experienced that. And I always thought that was weird, but, just figured, well, whatever. That's just me, I guess, or whatever, But I did notice that as growing up, we always had issues of feeling like had parts that were missing, parts that we had that we shouldn't, that gender dysphoria or the body dysmorphia. And we do have both for us personally as a system, and generally with most systems, I feel like that both of those issues are going to be commonplace. That's why you'll find many systems that the body is trans and or have alters that are trans. But for us, we had those feelings and experiences. We do have perfectionist issues, and for us, it's kind of like that feeling of perfection. For us, it's mostly like the physical skin picking, blemishes, things like that. Like for me right now, like I have some blemishes, acne, and if I happen to touch my face or if I look in a mirror and I see it, I will start picking at it. And or if anything, like rubbing my arm or something and I feel like a scab, it's almost like unconscious. You do it subconsciously or unconsciously. I don't even realize half the time when I do it, but I'll be like picking away at it and then realize I've got blood running down on my arm because I've been scratching the scab off, even though there's not even a scab on there anymore by the time I get done with it. And that, I think, has been the most distressing for us, especially over time. But we do have, like I said, both the BDD and the GD. But I think we've pretty much gotten to a point where everybody pretty much sees the body as there. It's what we have. Work with it kind of thing. Sorry. Now, obviously, it's not going to be that easy for a lot of people. But I will say that I am grateful for the fact that we could have had it worse. And we've learned to work with what feelings we do have. Now, every now and then, we do have issues with the BDD and the GD. But I will say that the episodes are not as frequent or as distressing as they were back then before we discovered we were a system. But there are also some tips and things that you can do if you are a system or a singlet that does suffer from gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria, I feel like it's something that can be a little more easily dealt with as opposed to BDD, because that's obviously more along the lines of a mental disorder. But things that can help are like binding if the body's female. Baggy clothes. I know for us, we most usually like to wear blue jeans, sports bras, and baggy t-shirts, because that kind of helps, I guess, not have those feminine features so overly obvious, maybe, I guess be a term you could say. So yeah, binders, sports bras, those can help. Baggy clothes. I thought also what was really interesting was watching drag king and drag queen videos for those that are the body's male. there's some pretty interesting transformations. They are so fascinating to watch, though, especially the drag king ones. Like with guys, I mean, you can add like stuff, your shirts and things, but it's like if your body is female and you know you've got some features that are a lot more noticeable than, it's like, but you watch these videos and it is just so fascinating how they manage to make it look manly. It's really, really interesting. So I recommend those if you're, especially if you're into makeup and stuff. It is really cool. Now again, as per makeup, obviously drag king, drag queen videos, that can help. And or say like clothes for that certain altar, or accessories that has the most problems with that gender dysphoria, can be helpful. It won't be a cure-all, but it can be something that can kind of alleviate those symptoms and feelings a little bit. I know with our closet, we have this not very big, but it's a walk-in closet, and the styles that we got going on is ridiculous. It looks like 20 different people live in this apartment, which is just us, but because everybody has their own styles, and sometimes it's just like from one end you've got pink flowers and butterflies, and on this side you got like metalhead, punk rock, and military style. It's just, it's all over the spectrum. We have everything going on. Now, I hope the videos proved helpful and insightful. If you guys have any questions that you feel has not been touched on quite yet, let us know. We'll do some research and we'll get that uploaded. Just leave a comment down below. For those of you who follow us on our Pinterest and our Instagram, we go by HeadspaceConnections, and you can always follow us on there. And we do have a Ko-fi and a Patreon tab for those of you that would like to sponsor or donate to help. We do these videos with our phone, so I apologize because the quality is not that great. We're trying to see about maybe buying an actual camera to see if what we could be able to do some better quality stuff. I think honestly if we were just better at editing it would probably be so much better, but oh well, I guess. As long as you guys can get the content of the video and they're helpful in some way to you guys, that's really all we care about. But again, we hope this video was helpful, and we're probably gonna go to bed because we're tired and sick, and I hope you guys have a good day or night, and we'll see you guys for the next one. All right, bye.